in this call and this show that we want to do, there's so much, you know, to be honest, this all these webinars happening all the time. There have been so much yoga se ye ho sakta hai, wo ho sakta hai. People are just propounding knowledge all over the place. I would really think if we turn towards the future, that okay, like you just said, this pandemic happened and gave us an opportunity, right? So that was a very key thing that you said. And then how do we translate it into the next, you know, immediate future? Whether you are planning as a government or whether you're planning as, you know, even an individual in your life, what is this immediate future we are looking at? And coming out of lockdown, are we going to have a similar story? If not, why? Some of these ideas I think would be nice of us to explore, you know, together. So let's start with it. We can start first with a little bit of MHRD. That's okay for you, sir?
Yeah, so let me wish all of you a very happy Yoga Day. I think this day has been celebrated to rediscover our roots, the roots on which the entire Indian cultural edifice has been built. So sometimes you'll have to you know, make an effort to trace your roots, you know, because as the tree grows, becomes big, there is a possibility that you forget your roots, and that would actually bring the fall of a culture. So therefore, I think going back to the roots, looking at your strengths, your you know, how the entire Indian culture has been built on certain principles of which are propounded by yoga. I think that's why this day is a very special day, and it's a day of pride for every Indian. So my experience with yoga has, of course, started when I was at the age 8, when my father, who himself was a big proponent of yoga, had taught us, actually, not only me or my brother, my sisters, the entire family. And you know, that started a small journey, and we were extremely playful, not at all serious in the beginning. But as we progressed, we found that the yoga actually transforms an individual. I mean, internally it transforms an individual, because it brings a clarity of thinking, a disciplined way of functioning, and I would say, you know, a focus on the work that we do so much better than those without having this experience. So as we see that you know, there are so many benefits out of it, we you know, many of us, my brother for example, myself, you know, we actually started looking at it a little bit more seriously, possibly later in the life. But you know, for knowledge, there is never there's never any time limit. You know, you are actually acquiring knowledge all the time. So today we stand at a time when we find that yoga has actually brought a big transformation in the way that we look at ourselves, the way that we look at world, and the way we maintain ourselves, the way we handle you know, crisis, the way we handle elations. So I think therefore it's a very transformative thing. So I wanted to state that yoga is a very, very, very personal experience. I mean, today yoga, there are so many people talking about yoga. You know, there are so many distortions which are coming into what yoga is and how yoga is propounded. You know, yoga for calisthenics, yoga, hot yoga, and all those things. So I really feel quite pity at the people who give different sort of interpretations, because yoga is such a big a journey inside. It is a journey inside. It's transformative for every individual, and therefore large number of people transforming themselves is transformative for the society. So that's why I think that this is a very important thing. And of course, in this particular crisis, which the whole world is facing, I think never before we have seen this sort of a challenge to the humanity. So I think it is in this crisis that that the best of the human being has to come out. And I would say that this pandemic, for example, we are now talking about pandemic.
Yes.
Everybody's mind is on pandemic. I would say that it is not a social issue. It is actually very much a personal issue, because the pandemic is not, the virus is not affecting in the same way everybody. Some people are very badly affected, some people are less affected, some people are not affected. So therefore there is an internal battle which a human being is fighting, with an external force. And it is in this situation that I think the yoga, the discipline that it brings, the health system that it promotes, stands in a good stead in fighting this. So I would therefore say that never more is yoga more relevant. Never in the past yoga is more relevant than today, and I think everybody must take it and then explore it. Of course, MHRD, we have, of course, we had, Guruji and Ravi, Guruji advising us and Ravi really chasing us. And Ravi is such a good persuader. I mean, once he starts asking you to do something, you can't but do it. So whatever has happened in MHRD, I think it's mainly because of Guruji and Ravi pushing things very well. Now we have a inter-university center for yoga, and I think this center located in Bangalore is going to promote yoga, research on yoga, practice of yoga across the higher educational institutions, and that's a huge job.
Yes, sir. Actually, when you're talking about your MHRD, hello, I think you've been muted. Can you try again?
Yeah. Hello?
Can you hear me? Muted last two sentences, because that MHRD thing you're saying.
Yeah. So
higher education. I mean, sir, my one worry is that, you said you picked it up a little later in life, right? Now, today we have so many campuses, so many students, and you incidentally led the higher education into so many forays and fields. How do you think today yoga can appeal to this generation for whom, tradition, the moment you say yoga, it comes from the past. It's like an echo of the past. How to make them feel that this is something they can create their future with? Right.
I think the right way to understand yoga is by experiencing it. I think if you can get some early adopters and experience it, and they should become proponents of this. Suppose if somebody, an external person, is telling them, "Aap yoga karo, theek ho jaoge," so bilkul they will do the exact opposite, or they will make fun of it. That's the way that youth are there. I mean, that's the fundamental feature of it. I'm sure all of us must have been like that.
Yes.
In those days. So right now, I'm saying that in the youth today, there is a lot of interest in actually finding out solutions for the tribulations that they face in the youth. So if I can get 10 early adopters in every campus, and then train them, and then they experience it and they tell the peers, it will really spread. So I think one solution, therefore, I would say, is that every campus must have a yoga club, and I think many campuses have.
Yes.
And that's what the Indian Yoga Association and their mandate is to spread to as many campuses as possible. Start with a yoga club, and if there are 3,000 students in the college, let us not attempt to convert all the 3,000. Let us take 30 people, and this 30 will keep on multiplying. And the point is that the youth are at such a stage that if the youth are convinced that it's helping them, it is going to impact their future generations. I mean, like for example, I learned yoga, and I think my children very much know. They they know how to practice. So the teaching of yoga to the youth is actually an insurance for our future. So therefore, I would say that in higher education campuses, this must happen, this can happen, and this will happen, and with some amount of persuasion and institutions like that, inter-university.
Right. Sir, one of your things that you said very beautifully is that they should be given the chance to take it to their peers. Because there is something about it when you learn it from a friend rather than when you learn it from somebody who seemingly elder tells you what to do. So that, I think that is one, I would really appreciate that point and take it further into later conversations, which I'm sure you have much more to share and tell us how to do it. Because see, the struggle today I face in terms of the youth of our country is this mismatch, this distancing from the wisdom, family wisdom also. Like you say, your children are learning from you, right? So if today time is not available, and students have such a stressful time, because as it is 2-3 hours on digital media, plus the high curriculum and the expectations that they have, right? I mean, so for a competitive setup where the best of our country is minted, finding time would mean putting yoga into a very specific format curriculum so that they can devote time to it, which is a challenge for many of them, even the well-meaning ones who want it. Do you think there's a possibility anytime soon that such studies can become part and parcel of everything that we do, like history, geography, mathematics?
I would say that it should be kept as much at a voluntary level than making it as a part of the curriculum, because the moment you make it curriculum, a mechanical attitude steps in. You make it a
Yes.
part of the curriculum, so you sort of mug something and then just clear the exam. So I think the best way to promote yoga is to experience and then share the experiences rather than share the written knowledge. So I think it is best done only through peers. Yoga clubs have to come in, and the yoga clubs should become popular, and that's the way it will spread. And if, as I said, in a college of 3,000, if you start with 30 people, I'm sure this will spread. So I think but beginning has to be made somewhere, and further somebody has to really work for it.
Absolutely. So today our audience mostly is being hosted. I mean, this our program is being hosted by, let me remind you, of the Kanpur University, which is a major state university. Nilima Ji Gupta is the Vice Chancellor, and today they've been inviting all their students. So I think the university has over 4,50,000 students in so many campuses, right? 15 districts of Uttar Pradesh. So today, ये जो हमारे माने जो audience है, how to reach out to them also in terms of your other very important role you are playing today as Secretary in the Government of India, I would like to remind them, is in social justice and empowerment. तो ये field में कैसे आपका क्या role है, and how can we consider putting an overlap between these two, because that's such an important area of our country.
So in social justice, we take care of the marginalized sections, most vulnerable sections. That is they are our responsibility. So I would basically bring the case of a drug addiction. Drug addiction is a very big issue today across the campuses. There was a time when addiction, only alcohol addiction used to be the big issue. Yes. Today, apart from alcohol addiction, you have synthetic drugs coming in, other types of drugs coming in, and sometimes across the border. So in the campuses now, there is a big crisis that is brewing, most of the campuses. So for us, it's a big challenge. So what we have done is that we find that introducing yoga to the drug addicts has actually brought a big improvement in their attitude, in their ability to fight the problems of addiction. So as you know, that a drug addict, when he's taken away, he faces serious to very serious withdrawal symptoms, and some of these symptoms can actually lead to death also. So what we find is that when yoga is taught to the people who are weaned away from drugs, they are able to tackle the withdrawal symptoms so much better without any medical intervention. So that's where we have now said that in our 600 anti de-addiction centers that we are running across the country, yoga is now mandatory. So it must be done everywhere, and we have requested India Yoga Association to sort of train our yoga trainers in better techniques. So I think once that happens, I think it will really sort of change the people who are addicts. Now that's one side of it. The other side is how to ensure that the people don't enter this addict category, and that's a big challenge. That's a prevention is a very big challenge. And so we are actually reaching out to campuses along with the University Grants Commission and the AICTE, and in 272 districts we are launching a campaign. These 272 districts are those which are identified as most vulnerable in terms of drug supply syndicates operating. Okay. So we are basically focusing on these 272 districts, and this year, in fact, that campaign was to be launched on 2nd of April, but now I think it will be put off maybe till October or so. But we are going to take it up, and with the help of yoga, we will launch a very significant battle against addiction and then problem of drugs in the campuses.
That's very, I think what is interesting in what you're saying is that we are looking at a possible future, as you were saying, yoga clubs, as you were saying, campaigns of the government across the nation to help people, like things which are considered, I would say, even taboo. Even today, drug addiction, if a child is into drug addiction, the family will not speak about it. It's very difficult. So I think socially also it will create a different atmosphere for our future if we can employ, like you're saying, yogic practices. And I'd like to remind our audience here that Indian Yoga Association is a democratic process of offering all yoga practices so that the people who are doing the yoga practice can select and choose what suits them best. Because yoga, as you know, is a full package. Ashtanga yoga starts with yama niyama, carries on with pranayama, so we have till pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, all the possibilities. So there is a whole package, a complete deal of a lifestyle, sir. And I think where you are taking it forward, it could make a major difference to such communities. Also, I think you have under your responsibility the backward communities of our country, indigenous people communities, where again there are so many problems, sir. So education being one of them, access to rights, access to human rights, access to clean water, I mean, n number of things. So corona and today the way it has reached our pandemic story in India is very difficult because these populations have suffered, sir, a lot. Daily wage earners. How do you see yoga in their future where even earning money is so difficult?
Yeah, so I think fundamentally, I believe that yoga is not class specific. Because an internal journey is an internal journey. It is a journey is happening in every individual. So this is an instrument which can help in that internal journey being done in a better way, in a more peaceful way, in a more harmonious way. So I think what we should do is that we should be able to devise very simple packages which commoners can adopt and then take it forward in their own real life. I mean, it should not be event based. Sometimes we do huge events, and then events come up like a wave and then die down like a wave.
Yes.
What we require is a calm ocean, which is all the time there, and which is unending and peaceful. So that is the sort of progress I'm looking at. So what we need to do is that we need to, for every type of category, say for example drug addicts may require some specific yoga practices, and rural areas we can promote certain things. In students who are stressful, who are preparing for competitive examinations, we can prepare different sets. So we should be able to bring out very simple packages which will of course not deviate, not those fancy packages which people are actually selling, but we packages which become very easy to use and then easy to practice. So I think that's the challenge which India Yoga Association and all your experts should be really shouldering.
Yes, we of course we will lay this proposal in front of them so that it can be seriously taken, where you say that it has to be a consistent, persistent effort by the government and by such people as Indian Yoga Association. I believe the confluence of the two will make a difference in society. And I call upon you, like, to give us a last message for our youth, because there are so many young people in this university listening to you today. What is this that can add purpose to their life? And what is your message to them who are looking at a life where next 30, 40 years, they will run our country? And this is going to be their story.
So the life is really something like in a way, the external world is something like a battle, and in the battle, the person who is most prepared will win. I mean, only the person who is most well equipped, not and most balanced, most focused, only those people will win. So so one such instrument, one main instrument, therefore, in your arsenal will be to discipline yourself, bring in discover the harmony within yourself, and then bring focus on the purpose. And for all these three things, it is essential that everybody should learn yoga practices. And not only learn, I mean, it should not be uh, just reading about it. You can't read about how to swim. You have to just jump into water. That's the only way you will learn. So you practice it every day, and then as you gain benefits out of it, practice a little more. So step by step, you imbibe as much as you can, and then you will. I can assure each one of you that the way that I have found benefit, all of you will find benefit in your life if you practice yoga regularly every day, and bit by bit, you will win.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us today, sir. It's been extremely interesting to hear from two different perspectives, not only of the education part of our government's efforts, but also from the social injustice and empowerment part. I think this has been very interesting. I hope that our students will be hearing this and take example and take inspiration from what you said. Most of all, I'd like to say the stress you laid upon experiencing yoga rather than knowing and giving weight to it will be a message that will strike chords. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you so much.